All right, guys, today we're going to talk about the things that you can do so that you don't start your day feeling like crap. This is the new year that I'm recording this on. And so, how can you wake up tomorrow feeling refreshed and ready for the day? All right, guys, welcome back to Life Revived. Today we're going to talk about a couple tricks that you can use to keep yourself sharp, to keep yourself refreshed, to keep yourself basically in check on the new year, and make sure that you wake up feeling good, refreshed tomorrow morning. I keep saying it's the new year, and it's because the day that I'm recording this, it is New Year's Eve 2020. And holy moly, has it been a year? There's been a lot going on for a lot of us, and I think there's a majority of us could agree that there's a lot to look forward in 2021 and to expect. And so I'm going to talk about a couple things that you can do if you're going to go out and celebrate New Year's Eve. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of people that'll be going out. I don't think there's many places you can, but if you're going to be staying up late, if you're going to be celebrating a little bit, if you're going to be having a couple cocktails, whatever you're going to be doing, I'm going to give you a couple tips and tricks to ultimately make sure that you wake up refreshed tomorrow morning as best as possible. And this is New Year's Eve. You might not be watching this on New Year's Eve, but these tips will still hold true really for any time that you're going to do any of these things, staying up late, socializing, parties, or even if you're sitting around and had a rough week and you're trying to release some tension by having a couple cocktails, right? So check in, stay to the end. I'll give you some of my tips, tricks, and even some ways to improve upon what ultimately I think we can all agree on are not always the healthiest steps that we take. So I think the little disclaimer that I have to make here is that, by no means am I saying do these couple things I'm going to give you that you can, stay up as late as you want, eat all the foods you want, and have as many drinks as you want, and just do these things and all of a sudden wake up feeling perfectly fine. No, that's not at all what I'm saying. I think we have to understand that that's really not going to happen. But if we decide to do these things, if you take some of these tips and tricks and you put them to work, I can tell you there's a much, much higher chance that you will wake up feeling refreshed and ready for your day rather than sitting around dreading opening your eyes, right? So let's dive into it. As usual, do me a favor, guys. Hit the subscribe button down below. Hit that bell. I want to make sure that you get this information right away so that I can continue to help as many people as possible feel better, get their health back, do those types of things, live a life revived, if you will. Okay, so a lot of this that I'm going to talk about is ultimately going to be about what to do when you're having alcohol, when you're drinking, and I like I said, I think we can all agree that alcohol is not a health food. Okay. There's no way and means that I can say, go out and drink alcohol and be healthy. There's lots of different discussions on red wine is healthy because of the resveratrol, or, I do this and I do that. I mean, there's different tinctures. I mean, some of the things like I make a joke sometimes where I think it's Jägermeister, right? That ultimately was originally concocted over medicinal tinctures, right? And yes, there's different argument points there, but let's be serious. When you drink alcohol, it causes inflammation. It does other things that are not healthy. Okay. But the stats are this: 70% of the population likes to have a cocktail now and then. Okay. And I grew up in the Midwest of the US, right? And I could say for a very long time, whenever there was a social occasion, one of the first questions is, let's go have a drink, or do you want to have a drink, or what do you want to drink? So it's been around me for a very long time, and honestly kind of challenging that paradigm has been a little difficult and still is difficult at times, but 70% of the population likes to have a drink. So I'm going to look into the stats and say that's what they are, right? And I'm going to talk to those, right? And I travel a lot for work, or did travel a lot for work, a lot of conferences, a lot of things like that. And so sometimes I say, the best answer for this situation is, if you want to make sure to feel better tomorrow morning, if you don't have to have a drink, don't. That's one of the easiest things. But if you're going to imbibe, if you're going to partake, definitely check in these tips. And before I dive into some of the other ones, kind of talking about some of my favorite things that I've done when I'm at conferences and things like that. I mean, I like bitters, like the aromatic bitters that they use in a lot of different drinks and things like that. And I found that if you mix like a seltzer water, a club soda, a sparkling water, just a non-flavored one, and you add that bitters to it, I actually really enjoy it. It's kind of like my own little mocktail. And there's so many places now that will make mocktails and they'll do these different things that work out great for you if you want to try not drinking. But you feel like, I just feel like I feel better if I have something in my hand, right? Because and I'm able to drink it. And as long as it tastes good, as long as it tastes good, I'm usually pretty happy. So try some bitters, try some and try with some seltzer water or club soda. Most bars and places like that, they'll have all that stuff and they're happy to do it for you. And try some different mocktails or just do a different sparkling water or flavored sparkling water. There's so many options now. So check that out. And so here are a couple different things that I want to get into. If you are going to partake and if you are going to have that drink, here are a couple different things that you can make sure to do to try and feel your best the next morning. So number one is, clear alcohols, right? So this could be like the vodkas and gins and those types of things, different alcohols like the whiskeys, the different rums, the dark rums and things like that. When they're a dark color, it has other additives that ultimately cause more inflammation and will increase your chances of having that hangover the next day. So stick with the clear alcohol. That's a number one, do that. And I think, the other thing like that to go on side with it is watch out for the mixtures. So like the high sugar things, those mixers, whether it be a soda of some sort, like a Pepsi or a Coke, or even, for instance, one thing that sneaks up on people is they think they're doing a good thing by doing like a tonic water, but tonic water can have a ton of sugar in it. It uses high fructose corn syrup, just like some of the other sodas. And so watch those mixers. If you can do without a mixer, that's great. But then ultimately, if you are, watch out for the high sugar ones, and especially be careful with like the tonics. Typically, if I'm going to have a drink, I stick with like the different martinis or like a Manhattan or something like that. Manhattan would be a dark alcohol, so it goes against number one. But you can do like a martini. I just watched a James Bond movie the other day, and the whole shaken not stirred, and just that sort of thing is always a good way to go. And then there's different alternative mixers too. So like you can do the club soda, you can do the seltzer, but like there's some really good one of my brands that I like to do is called Zevia, Zevia, and they make a bunch of different sodas, right, made with stevia. So instead of getting the big sugar and that sort of things, I'll get one of those, and even that's pretty sweet for me because I don't do a whole lot of sweet. So I'll even add a little extra water to that, or even like a club soda or something like that as well. And so watch out for the mixtures, watch out for the sugars. Those first two kind of go together. And then number three would be, every time you have a drink, make sure you have another water, a glass of water, another sparkling water or something like that in between each one of those alcoholic beverages. What it'll do is it'll slow you down. You'll have a lot less and you will stay hydrated. I mean, dehydration is one of the main reasons we feel like crap the next morning. Not to get into all the scientific aspects of it, but I mean, that dehydration is why we feel crummy. So the more water you have, the better you'll do. Ultimately too, don't start your party on an empty stomach, right? I think most people kind of understand this one. So make sure you have a little bit of food in your belly. Don't be overstuffed though. Okay. Don't fill yourself to the brim. That's just not going to help. And ultimately pick the right foods. And so I'm going to circle back to that. So come back in a minute here, but make sure you're eating the right foods. And then ultimately you can do a couple different things where there's some different supplements and products and things like that I like, that will help improve your body's ability to recover. So one of them, of course, we know alcohol affects the liver. So give your liver a little bit of love. And I'll link these products down below, or I'll link it to the store where you can find them. But do some good liver support. Right. Different B vitamins, right? Those are really good. And then there's another product that deals with glutathione. Basically, it's one of our strongest antioxidants that we can use. There's lots of different ways you can get that. And then finally, I've mentioned it in one of my other videos, so you should go check those out, especially the one about the reactions when you're on vacation. But there's a product that I love called Bind. And basically it helps you take this before bed, and it helps to absorb all those extra toxins and things like that are out there. And so stick with the clear alcohols. Make sure you're watching out for the high sugar mixers and what you're mixing those with. Drink a glass of water in between every other alcoholic beverage you have. Make sure you're eating the right foods, and then take a little bit of supplements and do some supplements to help your body recover and deal with some of that inflammation from the alcohol are some of my top things that I would recommend. Now, another one here is we kind of talked about eating the right foods, and some of these might make sense, but just kind of as a good reminder here. And we've heard them in different senses, but it's just basically keeping the nutrients up, keeping the minerals up, so that as you're depleting yourself through having the alcohol and partying and staying up too late and doing all these things. Pickles or pickle juice, really good with electrolytes. Those are ways I know I like to drink pickle juice at times anyway. I think it's delicious, but that's a good way. You can eat a pickle or use some pickle juice is always a good way to keep those electrolytes up. Other way you can do this, if you don't like pickle juice or pickles themselves, you can find a really good Himalayan sea salt, Celtic sea salt, a real sea salt. Like we use Redmond sea salt a lot. But you can sprinkle some of that in a glass of water. Now, if you've never done this, start small, a small pinch, but that's a good way to keep your electrolytes up and minerals. There's up to 79 different minerals in a sea salt. Isn't that crazy? Things like eggs. Eggs are a great fat, a great protein, but they also have some components in them that are going to help absorb and break down some of the nasty side effects when we drink alcohol. This one most people have heard about when we're feeling sick or our stomach's upset or something like that is ginger. So like get some ginger, juice some ginger. I mean, be careful with something like the ginger ales. That's the whole high sugar thing that I mentioned earlier. But ginger to help upset stomach, help digestion, those types of things. And then the same thing, so like bananas or a cruciferous vegetable, right? Green leafy vegetables, they have different things in them that'll help your body digest, soothe your system, those types of things. And maybe even think about making a little smoothie with those, a smoothie with some of the bananas and the veggies and maybe some berries, or even like a coconut water, right? Can help to balance out some of those minerals, make sure you have enough stuff for your body to use and recover. And then even the next morning sort of idea. And then one other thing that's out there, like if you're trying to be keto, if you're trying to be low carb and you still want to have that glass of wine or that drink, a lot of these factors are still going to be true. But one of the things that I'm going to plug here is Dry Farm wines. They are one of the first wines. They are very particular about the wines that they sell. They're low sugar. There's no toxins in them. And I've even heard Todd White, who's the owner, say before that it's the only wine you can drink and not get a hangover, right? Now, I don't suggest you challenge that statement and try to prove him wrong, but I'll put Dry Farm Wines down there if you want to give them a try. They're a great company. And I do remember one of the first times I ever had a red wine hangover. And it was one of the worst experiences of my life. I mean, I couldn't tell you. I definitely learned from that one. I was way back in school, and it was cheap wine, and I drank a lot of it, and I did not want to do anything the next day. I felt awful. So check out Dry Farm Wines. You remember these tips. If you're watching this on New Year's Eve, Happy New Year. Bring in 2021. Let's make it better than 2020, which, some might say might not be that hard. But if you're watching this on another day, make sure you take point of all these, right? Check out some of the supplements if you want to support your body that way too. But use these tips and tricks. Make sure you subscribe down below, hit that button, share this out. Let me know what you think in the comments. And ultimately, Happy New Year, everybody. Be happy, be healthy, and we'll see you in the next video.